Okay, so it's no secret who and what this film is about. President DJT would not be happy with this film. But the question is, am I? All right, The Apprentice, directed by Ali Abbasi, written by Gabriel Sherman. Okay, as many people know, this film wasn't released as widely as most films are. And whether that is because of legal reasons, not wanting to get into trouble with the Trumps, or because the film gives off an indie film. It seems like an indie film, and I can see why a studio wouldn't give that much budget to a film about this character. You're on tippy toes. The Trump people actually sent a cease and desist letter to the producers of this film to not have this film released. And you could just see why, man. After watching the film, obviously they still released it. The film is out there. Sebastian Stan and Jeremy Strong are nominated for best performances for this film. It's out there. And why has President DJT not sued these people? I don't know. There's arguments going around where maybe he doesn't want to sue them because of the Streisand effect, where suing something could give it a lot of publicity, especially with his name behind it. Maybe because of inconveniences, headaches. My opinion is simply because it's just not a well-known film. It already didn't get distributed much, and a lot of people don't know about it. Will the Oscars give it the recognition that the film producers wanted to? I don't think so, man. Because it's not a great film. I'll get into that later. So the power of word of mouth is not behind it, really. I don't think the Oscars brings much recognition nowadays to a lot of films, unless you're like already somewhat knowledgeable of the film industry and what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Most of that stuff I found out afterward. Entering the film, I had an idea of how President DJT was going to be portrayed. And all you have to really do is look into the writer a little bit. And I guess my hope of a neutral storyline dissipated. It was a little bit of hope, but it went away. I wish someone who wrote this was in the middle, not for, not against, just in the middle. So I went into the film knowing how his character really was going to be portrayed. What is the movie about? It's about President DJT in his younger years in the 70s and 80s when he's building his real estate business. And at the heart of it is his relationship with Roy Cohn, who's this cutthroat lawyer who will do whatever it takes really to get what he wants, what he needs for his client, right? Not really prioritizing the money behind the job, but I think that feeling of power and the feeling of being able to step over somebody. The film starts off with President DJT in his late 20s and his early 30s. He's already got a real estate business, but it's a lot smaller than what it is now. I mean, in the film, starting off, he's got these tenants that don't pay on time, that throw hot water on him when he asks for money, and the apartments essentially are rundown apartments. On top of that, he's filled with the pressure of fulfilling his father's expectations, and he's seeing in simple scenes in family dinner how not fulfilling these expectations can drop you down in those sibling rankings. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the dad is a piece of work though. His oldest son is Fred Trump, who's a pilot. And compared to everyone else, even though he's a pilot, he's not living up to his father's expectations. And because of this, President DJT and all of the family basically see Fred Trump kind of like a cautionary tale throughout the film. Something not to do. Even though to anybody else and to any other family, having a pilot in your family would be something to be proud of. To them, or at least to the dad, it wasn't. In the beginning of the film, President DJT is portrayed as young, ambitious, with his eyes set on the city of New York, but not corrupt, not with a twisted moral compass. It just seemed like he just didn't have much of one. So there's room for manipulation there, and that's where Roy Cohn comes in. He wasn't just his lawyer, he wasn't just his business partner. Interestingly enough, it's established in the film that Roy Cohn didn't even accept money from Donald Trump starting on. He just had him there, maybe for disturbing reasons that the film alludes to, or maybe because he wanted to be his mentor, which that relationship builds toward. And I think it establishes really well throughout the first half, where Roy Cohn is already there. Donald Trump wants to be there. And so Roy Cohn shows him the ropes of evil, of how to twist the arms and the wrist of the judicial system, of how to blackmail your political opponents, and essentially how to get what you want in the worst ways. You know, Trump's father is portrayed throughout the film as absent in his role. And so when someone like Roy Cohn comes in with that fatherly presence where it's like, hey, I'll give you guidance. Hey, I'll give you some influence. I'll help you out. It's corrupt and it's evil and it's the way that I do things. But that's all that Donald Trump's character had. Unfortunately, Donald Trump throughout all of this is a sponge. He sees this and you could tell that he's absorbing this. As the film progresses, especially in the second half, we see the fall of any humanity that was left in Donald Trump's character. And especially in the second half, there are many disturbing, violent scenes showcased, and these actions are done by Donald Trump. Very ruthless, inhumane, and at times extremely criminal. The first instance we see of this is in his wedding, where the thoughts and opinions the father has of Fred Trump trickle down to Donald. So when he sees his brother, as the film progresses, he sees him more as a failure. And I wish that this part of the film was established more. I wish we could have had that more brotherly connection so that that moment in the wedding and the moments after would have hit more, but they didn't. But I think they could have done more, especially given Sebastian Stan's strong performance throughout the film. It is strong, but the character, for me, felt a bit underwritten. The transition that he has from the first half to the second happened too quick, and it just feels like we get to the shell of the character, never deep inside. My pick for the MVP of the film is Roy Cohn's character. Man, Jeremy Strong showed up. He showed up. Unfortunately, the film doesn't show much of him after the first hour, but for that first hour, he did great. He had these mannerisms that were very strange, very different, that established him as Roy Cohn. And if I watched the interviews, it's very uncanny how much he portrayed and how much he looked like Roy Cohn. I think they did really good with the casting. But the performance of Roy is great because what Jeremy Strong is able to do is he's able to portray this monster of a human. And as the film progresses, you see moments of hurt, of vulnerability that you do not expect from this human being. And it's good. And those scenes are really well acted. Sebastian Stan has moments like that, yes. But him being the main character and considering the screen time he was given, I do wish he was written a bit better. As the film goes on and as we get to the end, you see that the film is not going to have a happy ending, that it's not going to be a redemption arc. The character is where he wants to be, in the position where he wants to be, but at a loss of his humanity, at a loss of the relationships that raised him and helped him get to the position that he's in. I like the tragedy in that as a story. I just wish it flowed better. And I think what the film was missing was maybe a bit more time. Maybe a bit more time for those things in the middle to flesh out. Structure, when it came from jumping from plot point to plot point, it felt fluid for the first hour. And then after the first hour, kind of felt like zigzag. Does that make sense? We were just jumping to moments and sections in life that stopped feeling like a cohesive story and started feeling like a generic biopic. This is what biopics fall for. Most biopics fall because they end up simply just showcasing moments of a person's life, which, yes, it's a biography, but some of the best ones have that story, corruption of character, the mentorship and the fall of it, the woman of his life and the fame that destroyed that. Things like this. You're never going to fit somebody's life into 2 hours of film, but you can fit moments of their life to create a story. And this film fell flat for me on that aspect. But good performance by Sebastian Stan. I think he keeps proving himself as a better and better actor. He had great films, indie films, you know, the Different Man, I believe it's called, and then this one. He did clock in. Jeremy Strong just clocked in harder. Man, I hope there was some truth in this film, despite its dramatic elements, and I know it's Hollywood. I doubt that there was much truth, but I hope there was some truth if it wasn't all truthful, because if not, then it'll feel like the invitation the director gave Trump to watch this film. And that's disingenuous, and in my opinion, irresponsible. But like I said, only God and the people involved will know. This movie is a strong C+ for me. All right, spoilers up ahead. Here comes the parental advisory portion. And there's a lot to talk about in this film. This film is rated R. There are a couple sex scenes. There are party scenes that have scenes that I wish I never saw. Quite disturbing stuff. So just a heads up, this film doesn't pull away from a lot. There are scenes where characters are doing drugs. There's a surgery scene that is quite graphic. The language is very strong. There are a lot of sexual innuendos throughout the film, sexual material, and the most distressing, vulgar scene of the film has to do with sexual violence. And this is found towards the end of the film. It's a very prolonged scene, so just a heads up. If you guys get triggered by these sort of things, just don't watch the film. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. What did you think about The Apprentice? Let me know what you thought about the film, about the acting performances, Jeremy Strong, Sebastian Stan. Let me know, let me know. All right, guys, please subscribe, leave those comments, like, and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.